When we're talking about consumers and their decision-making process, there are 5 steps that are involved. You'll see it begins with the problem recognition. What are we trying to satisfy? The information search, where we gather information. Then we evaluate the alternatives that are available to us. We look for where we're going to purchase the product, what outlet we're going to use, and then finally, whether or not we are satisfied or dissatisfied with the post-purchase process. So let's dig a little bit deeper in each of these steps. Problem recognition says that there is a discrepancy between what we actually have and what we actually want. So the desired versus the actual states. It also depends on the importance of the problem as far as how urgent it is. That will help us with time. It'll help us with how long we spend on each of these stages. Second step is the information search. Today, consumers are extremely smart. They spend time looking and gathering both internal information, remembering brands that they're familiar with. We call that an evoked set. If I say that I'm thirsty and I want to get a soft drink, what are the brands that come to mind for me? Is it Coke? Is it Dr. Pepper? What are those brands that come to mind? That's my evoked set of brands for soft drinks. So that's an internal search. Then there's the external information search. If the product's a little more complicated, I might search. I might ask my friends on social media, or I might just look online, look for reviews. There's other types of information. Search engine marketing is a big player because when consumers are looking for information, we can help them with that information if we're using our marketing appropriately. When we evaluate the alternatives, there's different criteria that we use to evaluate the alternatives. Everything from attribute based, those are those features that we're looking for, to the effective choice, things that have an influence on how we feel. And then attitudes can be everything from whether I am very concerned about image, or whether I want people to think that I'm smart. There's many different types of things. Or do I have prejudices against a certain type of retailer for whatever reason? There's many different attitudes that can come into play. And then when we select those outlets, again, there are different types of purchases that we make. Those unplanned purchases typically are very low cost, low priced products. You may see something and just buy it, and you hadn't really planned on it. Sometimes students confuse unplanned purchases with impulse purchases. Unplanned typically is going to be a little bit bigger purchase price than an impulse item. Reminders are things that if you have a shopping list that you're using, that you typically buy products, those can be things that we buy every week, every month, every year. But impulse is really impulse. You hadn't even thought about buying a particular product. Typically, those are going to be very low priced items. Let's hope they're low priced items if they're an impulse purchase. Stockouts is not something we purchase, but it has an effect on the consumer. A stockout means that you go looking for a product after you've gone through this entire process of figuring out what your problem was, evaluating the alternatives, selecting where you're going to do it, and then you go to buy it and they're out. So it really has an impact on the consumer's buying process. Do we then look for an alternative product within the same location, or do we get in our car or go online and try to find it at another store? So stockouts can have a really big play in the consumer's buying decision process. Mobile payment is just added under this because this is how we purchase. More consumers are using their phones every day to make purchases, so how easy is that for consumers can affect how they make their purchases. Final step, but it can be extremely important, is the post-purchase evaluation. There's a term we use in marketing called cognitive dissonance. This means that there is a mismatch between what consumers expected and what they actually received. We want post-purchase satisfaction. In today's age of social media, consumers post very quickly their dissatisfaction. They're starting to post their satisfaction a little more regularly, which is a good thing for businesses, but the negative, the dissatisfaction, the cognitive dissonance that occurs when the product or service didn't meet their expectations is now shared worldwide, instantaneous. So we have to spend a little bit more time than previously on making sure that we follow up with consumers to make sure that they are satisfied. If dissatisfaction or cognitive dissonance occurs, how does the business respond to that, and can they rectify that before the damage is done?